The city of St. Augustine, Florida, traces its roots back to the Spanish in the 1500s. Castillo de San Marcos is one of the many historical landmarks. Now it's a thriving community on the Atlantic coast along Florida's northern shore. But away from the beaches, it's time to go racing. NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro style. Beautiful night for racing with temperature in the lower 70s and no chance of rain. Hello everybody, I'm Mark Allen and welcome to a racetrack that has undergone a significant facelift in the past couple of years. Most racetracks, when they do some off-season work, will paint the walls, maybe add a few seats, but the St. Augustine Speedway, well, they took their dirt surface and laid a ribbon of asphalt around the half mile a couple of seasons ago. Last year, the NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Series visited here for the first time, and 10 of those drivers are back tonight for the second visit. Now, you might suspect that that would give them something of an advantage, and that was true in qualifying, as 3 of the top 4 on the clock were here in 1997. But our pole sitter is somebody new. Let's go to trackside and my broadcast colleague Bill Hennessy with the front row.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to St. Augustine Speedway in the nation's oldest city. There's certainly going to be an on-track battle here this evening. Starting on the outside of the front row is Sean Studer. Sean, are you surprised at your qualifying effort?
Yeah, actually I am. I was expecting to qualify somewhere towards the back top 10 somewhere. You know, this came to a bit of a shock. You know, Billy, he got a great run in, but you know, we look forward to taking this Old El Paso High C Monte Carlo to the front and see what we can do.
Any added responsibility on your shoulders since you're carrying one of the race sponsors with you tonight on the side of your car?
Well, really all I can do is just stay out of trouble, race clean, and hope I'm there at the end and just give it my all.
The man who's on the pole position has won poles in the All-American Challenge, but this is his very first Slim Jim All-Pro pole. Were you surprised, Billy, at the qualifying speed you were able to turn?
Very surprised, Bill. The Team ASE, Felpro, Bilstein shocks, AP race calipers, 5-star bodies, Chevy Monte Carlo was really good in practice, but we didn't think that it was going to be that good. We figured that we could run somewhere around an 0 to a 95, and to pull off an 86 is a pretty good feat. My guys just said, you know, drive smooth, drive smart, drive hard, but don't charge turn 3 too hard, and you'll probably be in pretty good shape.
What's the strategy for this evening's race?
To race, you know, pretty hard and get in single file and just get it right, real smooth, hard, kind of not too, you know, blistering pace. Just kind of get out there and take it easy for first 100, 125 laps, then go racing.
We're going to take a break. When we return, we'll be giving you the starting lineup, plus talking to other participants in tonight's event. This NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro race is brought to you by Slim Jim. When you need a little excitement, snap into a beefy, spicy Slim Jim. And Austin Quality Snack Cracker Sandwiches.
Welcome back to the Winn Dixie High C200. We're just about set to get underway.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
And a fan's favorite sound descends on St. Augustine Speedway as 31 drivers have cranked their motors, and we'll get set to go racing for 200 laps around this half-mile track. Everyone's engine has fired. A good crowd on hand here for what we expect to be a most interesting race. Only the second time the Slim Jim All-Pro Series has competed at the St. Augustine Speedway. As the drivers get ready to roll off, let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's Winn Dixie High C200. On the pole with a brand new track record is Billy Bigley Jr. from Naples, Florida. He'll be driving the Bilstein Shocks Chevrolet. Next to him on the outside of the front row will be Sean Studer from Concord, North Carolina in the Old El Paso Mexican-style Foods Chevrolet. Inside the second row, veteran campaigner Ron Young from Conyers, Georgia. He'll be piloting the Kofer Brothers Building Materials Chevy. And on the outside of the second row is Raleigh, North Carolina's Derek Gilchrist. He'll be driving the Hamke Race Cars Chevy.
Starting fifth on the grid, the Hooters champion Bobby Gill from Dalton, Georgia, and the Drinkard Litho Chevrolet Monte Carlo, brand new ride for him. He's flanked by fellow Floridian from Montverde, Florida, Pete Orr in the Race Car Engineering Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Starting 7th is Conrad Burr, Concord, North Carolina, National Peening Chevrolet. Going 8th, Nevin Jenkins, Homosassa, Florida, the Futronics Chevrolet Monte Carlo.
Rolling off 9th tonight will be Hal Goodson, the reigning series champion from Darlington, South Carolina, in the Nortel Chevrolet. Starting 10th will be Bobby Hamilton Jr., the second-generation driver, hails from Mount Juliet, Tennessee, driving the Cunningham Motors Chevy. Starting 11th will be Robert Burrows. The Laurel, Mississippi driver will be piloting the Burrows Motorsports Chevy Monte Carlo. And starting in the outside of the 6th row will be Marty Lindley. The Greenville, South Carolina driver has Janet King as the sponsor on his Chevy.
Going 13th is Jimmy Cope, Pinellas Park, Florida, the McDonough Plumbing Chevrolet. 14th is Ronnie Burkett from Sorrento, Florida, the Big Daddy's Barbecue Chevrolet Monte Carlo. 15th is Randy Gentry, Easley, South Carolina driver, the Carolina Painting Quality Lift Chevrolet Monte Carlo. And 16th is two-time winner on the series this year, Freddie Query, for Mooresville, North Carolina, and the W.J. Clemens Insurance Chevrolet Monte Carlo.
Starting 17th is Simpsonville, South Carolina's David Moyer, driving the Austin Cracker Sandwiches Monte Carlo. In the 18th spot, it's Mike Harmon from Birmingport, Alabama, in the Statewide Amusements Chevrolet. The 19th starter is David Rudiman from Zephyr Hills, Florida, piloting the QMI Pontiac. And 20th, David Jude, the Kermitville, West Virginia driver, is behind the wheel of the Klein Resources Chevrolet.
The 11th row, Keith White, Higginsville, Missouri, Bayer Agriculture, Advantage Flea, Adult Side Chevrolet. 22nd on the grid is Stephen Christian, Sugar Hill, Georgia, the Bell South Chevrolet Monte Carlo. 23rd is Ken Alexander, Central South Carolina, the Breeze Lightning Cleaner, DeGreaser Chevrolet. And 24th is Trent Owen, Charlotte, North Carolina, the Richard Petty Driving Experience Pontiac.
Brian Sockwell starts 25th. The Brown Summit, North Carolina driver is in the Cleaver Brooks CNC Boilers Chevy. The 26th starter is Bobby Coyle, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. A Natural Difference Skin Care Products Chevrolet is his mount. The 27th starter is Steve Smith from Savannah, Georgia. He's in the Jones Communications Chevy. And starting 28th is Scott Kilby. The Statesville, North Carolina driver is piloting the Electric Light Southern Insurance Chevrolet.
29th on the grid is Josh Clemens, New Albany, Indiana, the E.T. Sharp Chevrolet. 30th is Stephen Howard out of Greer, South Carolina, the Horizons Motorsports Chevrolet. And starting 31st is Brad Krager, St. Croix, the Virgin Islands, Brinkley Racing Chevrolet Monte Carlo. One driver has already visited the pits. Looks like there's problems on Stephen Christian's car. We'll get an updated story in just a few moments.
One driver who came but was unable to qualify and start tonight's race, Lee Raymond from Dayton, Ohio, had an engine go bad early. There's the work being done on Steve Christian's car. That is not a good sign. And also, Stephen Howard is in the pits early as well.
These two drivers obviously going to fall to the back of the field now, so we're getting very close to a green flag here at St. Augustine Speedway for tonight's running of the Winn Dixie High C 200.
Bill, normally when we look at qualifying, we're talking about hundredths of a second, but in this case, Billy Bigley Jr. blew him away in qualifying.
He was very, very quick. As a matter of fact, I think he surprised everybody, including himself and his dad, Billy Bigley Sr. Some of the other drivers that we had the opportunity to talk with about their qualifying run and their reaction to St. Augustine Speedway.
Not a good story today. We had a good first lap, 40-something, 48 or 9 the first lap, and the second lap was terrible at 60-something. So driver error on the second lap. I have to take the blame for it today. It wasn't good.
Can you win?
Yeah, I mean, our car was a little tight there in qualifying, but in the long run, our car was good all day long. And I mean, we got 200 laps here to go, so we got as good a chance as anybody.
Yeah, since they keep the cars here after qualifying, won't let you work on them, we really can't put a lot of efforts towards qualifying. We just have to fix our car where it drives good in the race, and that's what we've done, and I think it hurt us a little bit qualifying. But
well, a good starting spot is important as Greg Regina from Winn Dixie waves the green, and we are underway at St. Augustine. Pole sitter Billy Bigley has jumped to the lead as we are on board with Ken Alexander in the Grease Lightning Chevrolet, the view he has of tonight's race.
Interesting view is watching his hands on that steering wheel. That's going to get interesting throughout the evening for Ken Alexander out of Central South Carolina.
Bigley pulls off to a several car length advantage. He's in the black 28. Right behind him, the red 4 is Ron Young, who finished third here last year. Right behind him is the outside front row starter, the yellow 96 of Sean Studer.
It looks like Nevin Jenkins got caught up on the high side of the racetrack, and everybody started diving down beneath him. Drivers earlier today told me, Mark, that the track has got a lot of sand on it, up out of the groove, so they don't want to get to the high side of the racetrack. They say, we're going to give up a lot of position should that happen. Billy Bigley came in here, seemed to be dialed in for tonight's race. This driver is looking forward to a win here. As he told you earlier, he's not one who's going for points, I don't believe.
Well, he said before the race that he's out to win races. He wants to win 10 of them this year, a story that will develop in just a bit as a battle is developing there for second all the way back through the 5th spot. Ron Young trying to rebound from a tough race the previous week at South Boston, Virginia. So far is holding off Studer in that old El Paso Chevy as everybody for the moment stays in single file order. They are overtaking a slower car.
Brad came here from the Virgin Islands, where he has a car dealership down there in St. Croix. This is his first ever start in a Slim Jim All-Pro race, his first ever start on an oval, to be exact.
And I was surprised to see his name on the list. I never thought I would be announcing a stock car driver hailing from the Virgin Islands.
His experiences come at IMSA and Sports Car Club of America competition.
Now 27 is Derek Gilchrist. He's watching the battle for second, and it's getting physical. Ron Young half-cocked, and now we've got trouble. Gilchrist climbs the quarter panel, and mayhem is broken out on the high side. The 37 is Bobby Coyle, and we are under yellow for the first time. Tough luck again for Derek Gilchrist, the second week in a row.
Gilchrist in the Robert Hamke prepared car. Looks like he'll be headed for the pits. Like you said, the second week in a row, he's had problems in the opening laps of competition.
He was the pole sitter at South Boston, the most recent event, and then had engine trouble early. He was second in the points, but dropped to third when he was an early DNF.
Skewing the car back and forth across the racetrack to try to check out the steering on the car.
And it's hard to tell whether it's body damage or whether there's some suspension damage included as well. Now, the pits are open for Derek Gilchrist or anyone else who wants to come in. It was a two-car incident. Let's take another look at how it unfolded, Bill.
Going into the third quarter there, Sean Studer got up underneath Ron Young. Young may have checked up a bit. He gets bumped once, twice, then he's cleared, and then Gilchrist has no place to go as Young is trying to recover from being out of shape, and Gilchrist into the left rear quarter goes down to the bottom of the racetrack and into the grass.
And on the high side was that 37 of Bobby Coyle. So a two-car incident on lap number 8 brings us to our first yellow. And we'll be back to continue coverage of the Winn Dixie High C 200 from St. Augustine Speedway here on the Fox Sports Net. Stay with us. The yellow came out moments ago for a two-car incident, actually really a three-car incident involving the Derek Gilchrist Ron Young car. Coming into the pits just now, in fact exiting the pits, Steve Smith coming to the attention of his crew, but so far it has been the Billy Bigley Jr. show as we are in the early laps here at this half-mile speedway just outside St. Augustine, Florida.
First caution of the evening coming on lap 8. Going to find out what took place with Steve Christian's car. He made a visit to the pits early in the going before the green flag. Sammy Shoemate, what's the problem?
When we cranked the car up to come over from the pits, it broke a rock arm when we first fired it up. We just took the assembly off, so we on 7 cylinders the rest of the night there.
Now the big question, Bill, is how big a factor is it to have only 7 cylinders on a short track like this one?
It should hurt him extensively. I'll be surprised if he runs with the pack. But you never can tell. This is a handling track here at St. Augustine. These guys gently getting through the quarters and trying to power it down the straightaway. Let's see what happens with Steve Christian when he gets back under green.
Well, we're going to know soon enough as we've got the signal 1 to go from Rick Monroe, and we'll go back to racing. Billy Bigley Jr. has led since the green from the pole position. He's only the 4th different race leader this season. It seems, Bill, that in qualifying, where you qualify is often where you run.
It certainly seems that way. Freddie Query, though, didn't qualify up towards the front this go-around, and I've got the story on that a little bit later. Looks like we'll be going back to green flag racing here in just a moment.
Freddie Query is the series points leader by a comfortable margin over Steve Christian, who's we just talked about moments ago, is having some problems. And Ronnie Burkett is close behind in the third spot. That rookie driver is somebody that we'll be keeping our eye on tonight as well, as it's still early in the campaign and points will move quickly from top to bottom. We're back under green, and Bigley leads them back into turn one, where a battle for fourth has already developed.
Moving off the second quarter, you see the battle down on the inside of the racetrack. Up front, though, Billy Bigley leads them out of the fourth quarter. Let's see what happens back there for third place.
Third place is Sean Studer. He has got a mirror full of what's going on just behind as you see different drivers taking different tacks around this speedway. But Billy Bigley has pulled out to a 7-car length advantage just that quickly as we're looking at Pete Orr and Bobby Gill. That's the battle for fourth, and for the moment it has settled down in Orr's favor.
Two Floridians battling with each other. They've done that over the years here throughout the Sunshine State.
Gill now calling Dalton, Georgia home, but originally cut his teeth down here in the state of Florida. Bigley has lived in Florida all of his life, down in the Naples area. He and his dad own and operate an air conditioning business. And that's how fast they're going around this speedway, turning laps in the front stretch well in excess of 100 miles per hour. Young getting some pressure now from Studer. We've seen this before, and we've seen it again.
Studer is working that rear bumper cover using his chrome horn, but look at there. There's Pete Orr diving down to the inside, and Orr goes to third place.
And Gill will come along with him. So now the battle for fourth is a good one, with Gill having the preferred line. Let's see if he can clear him at the start-finish line, and he will. That low line, Bill, around this track, particularly coming off of turn 4, is where you want to be.
It's the quick place down at the bottom of the racetrack, apex the quarter, and make a smooth transition onto the straightaways. And it's not a straightaway here on the backstretch here. It basically is a big curve.
Think of this track as a D-shaped facility, and you've got a pretty good sense of what it's like. Now, right behind Studer is the 50 car of Hal Goodson, the two-time series champion. That's another battle we'll keep our eye on, as Pete Orr is now the one applying pressure to Ron Young.
Pete Orr is getting up there. Pete would like to be able to make a pass there on Young. Draws down to the inside. Don't believe he's going to get beneath him going into the first quarter.
And we'll be watching how these drivers traverse that first and second corner. We already know in turns 3 and 4 that you don't want to be on the high side, but we'll have yet to see, at least at this point, whether turns 1 and 2 will be a two-group racetrack.
Plenty of racing all the way around the facility. Most of these drivers trying to advance. Now a slow car in front of our leaders will be coming up in just a second.
Now, Gill was putting some heat on Orr just a moment ago, and they tapped in the middle of turn 2. Orr is trying to get another run on the 4 of Ron Young, but in the meantime, Billy Bigley Jr. has the race all to himself, and we keep saying Junior simply because his father is down in the pits as his crew chief. There's the look from Ken Alexander's car.
Take a look at Ken's hands as he moves through the traffic here at St. Augustine. He'll come off the corner and have to correct that thing back to the right. Watch him now. Pulls it back over to the right, straightens the car up, puts a little steering input into it. Ken doing a real good job here this evening.
Yeah, a passive steering wheel means the car's handling pretty well. And Goodson inside of Studer in the battle for 5th as Bigley continues to pull away. It doesn't appear that anybody's got anything for him in the early going, and Goodson has taken away the 5th spot as Studer is now caught to the outside, and he'll have more pressure now from another competitor moving his way forward. And look at Goodson in the white 50. He started 9th. He wants 4th from Gill. Orr is trying to keep the pressure on Young just in case, and we've got trouble over in turn 2. Bobby Coyle is down in the grass, but it looks like we will stay green.
Mark, Bobby's been having trouble since he got here earlier today. He couldn't get his car to handle. As a matter of fact, he put another driver into the car to see if they could sort it out. But Bobby just having a difficult time hanging on to the steering wheel.
And the man they put in that car is the man you're watching on the screen now, Billy Bigley Jr. Time permitting, later in the telecast, we'll play an interview about how and why that happened.
Bigley up front there, the 28 car. He's pretty well got these guys covered. But we're going to have a mandatory caution about halfway, so most of these guys are riding around trying to take care of their equipment, at least for the first 100 laps.
Well, taking care of business right now, by far the best driver on the Speedway is Hal Goodson Jr., with apologies to Billy Bigley Jr. Now, Hal Goodson's dad is Howard Goodson, a driver from the PD region of South Carolina, a fierce local competitor, and we talked with him before the race about living his dream through his son.
It's a dream come true so much, you know. You just always hope for the best. You work and you do what you can. You always strive for it, you know, to that. But it's just unreal for him to have won 2 championships. When it goes back when he first started racing the late model sportsmen up at Concord, North Carolina, he said, Daddy, you know, I used to read about Judah Red and those men in these books. He said, now I ride by them, look at them and pass them, and look at them and kind of grin. Said, you know, this is a dream. Said it's something he never realized that he would have the opportunity to do that back then. And since he won 2 national championships, it's just a dream come true for him and me too. I mean, it's just something that, you know, you hope for, but you just small town boy from Darlington, where it all began at, you know, in NASCAR racing and big track stuff, whatever. And it's just really a dream and a blessing. It's can't describe the satisfaction of him have accomplished that, what he's done it with, you know. You're familiar with our organization, what we've had in the past, and it's been a struggle, and he's having to have another member of our team somewhat to help us out, and he'll be watching over tonight, yonder whatever. I feel like he's pulled us through, and it's been an unreal situation that he's accomplished.
Howard operates a service station over in Darlington, South Carolina. He used to race against the likes of Jack Eaton and Sammy Ard, which is the guy running a lot of dirt in South Carolina.
Well, Bill, racing has been and always will be a family game. Billy Bigley Jr.'s dad also raced competitively. Right now, by far, the most competitive car on the track is our pole sitter and race leader, Billy Bigley Jr. We'll be back with more action from the St. Augustine Speedway. You're watching NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro action. Allen and Bill Hennessy here with the race call of the NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Series stop number 4. Its 3rd visit to the state of Florida for the 1998 season. So far, the top story has been authored by our pole sitter Billy Bigley Jr., but the battle for 2nd through 4th ever since the green flag has been a good one, Bill.
Good battle back there. Hal Goodson has been advancing through the field for this ninth place starting position. He's running right behind Pete Orr now, riding in 4th place. Goodson, of course, is the 2-time national champion, would like to win a 3rd, but the season hasn't gotten started very well for him so far this year. Well, Freddie Query has made it a difficult season for a number of drivers. He's led over 75% of the laps as Goodson gets down underneath. Goodson has yet to lead a lap this year, but at the pace he's going toward the front, that could change tonight as he takes the 3rd spot away. Goodson has moved up to 3rd now by Pete Orr. Remember, we still have a break coming up at halfway, a mandatory caution at lap 101.
Goodson's racing like it's the second half of the race. Track position is important, as we've seen at most other events this year. It's been difficult for some drivers to pass. If you haven't been hooked up in qualifying, basically you haven't raced very well. Just a couple of exceptions. Now, for instance, Freddie Query tonight qualified 16th, so we may not necessarily see him all the way to the front by the end of the race, but he is slowly picking off cars.
Bigley putting several drivers a lap down, one of those being Steve Smith in the yellow car. The other car was Trent Owens, Richard Petty's nephew.
And a driver at the Richard Petty driving experience at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's getting experience out here. The driver really doesn't have too many late model races under his belt.
Well, we saw him race down at Myrtle Beach Speedway last season, along with his cousin, Adam Petty, the son of Kyle.
And Adam this year running the American Speed Association Series. Now, Billy Bigley climbed into the Bobby Coyle car before the event, and Bill, you talked to them about why he did that.
Well, Bobby's had a little bit of a problem with his car. It's a brand new car at Homestead and stuff, so they kind of asked me we ran a Florida Pro race after Homestead, and I've been racing with Bobby for a long time, and he just kind of had said if I could give him any insight on what's wrong with the car and what's it doing, could I take the car out? I'm here to help. I want people to race good and race hard, stuff like that, and if I can help him race good, I hope he don't beat me, but if I can help him race good, that's what it's all about.
I think it's rather interesting that these two drivers are willing to work together. Bigley has 22 years of experience, while Coyle has 34. Now, off track, you would think that Coyle would be calling on Bigley to come fix his air conditioning unit. Why? Because he's an air conditioning technician. What is the occupation of Coyle? He's an electrician. So these guys have work-related correlation, you might say.
Yeah, but once you put the helmet on and take the green flag, it is every man for himself. Right now, the man is certainly Billy Bigley, but Hal Goodson, if he can catch up and get around, well, he's caught Ron Young, but if he can get around him, never can tell what might happen. Well, one driver just retired from the race a couple of moments ago is David Jude. He's trackside, and let's find out what happened.
We lost our brakes. All of our brakes went out. Instead of wrecking it, we just chose to bring it in because we couldn't go nowhere and we had to start slowing down.
David Jude got started racing in 1995 in the Legends Car Series, very quickly advanced into these high-powered sportsman-type cars. Jude, you know what his hobbies are? Golf, 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 racing, racing, racing. So I guess that's golf and racing with the third power.
But he's had a difficult weekend. Aside from the engine, he has not been feeling well, as now their second and third place cars are beginning to overtake traffic as we return to coverage of the action on the Speedway. Hal Goodson has not got a top 5 finish so far this season, but he certainly looks in course for it so far. Now, Ron Young last year at this track finished third, so he's figured out a way to get around this Speedway.
Well, Ron's basically driving an unsponsored car. Cooper Brothers has been helping him out, but he doesn't have a major budget that will allow him to have the type of car that he really desires, which is one with a big, powerful engine and fresh tires all the way around every pit stop.
Yeah, let's go ahead and correct something right away here. Hal Goodson finished 4th in the season opener, but ever since then, it's been pretty tough going. Swept into a wreck the last race out at South Boston, Virginia, as Bigley has caught our camera car of Ken Alexander and has put him a lap down.
Alexander takes a look to his left. Bigley scoops beneath him. Now he has to worry about the rest of the drivers coming up on his heels of the Breeze Lightning Chevrolet Monte Carlo.
Well, the problems that Bobby Coyle had at the start of the race in an incident and then a spin a little while ago, it looks like those are terminal for the evening as Coyle is taking his car behind the wall. Let's find out what happened.
We broke a brake caliper on the left front. Evidently, it's been going bad and have been pulling the car. And I've been having trouble with it, so I tried to get out of everybody's way. So then I was just out there riding, and when I got behind David, he went to stop hard coming in the corner, and I locked him up, and it went. So we're down for the night.
No cars sidelined because of wrecks. It's been a fairly high attrition rate so far, with 4 cars already sidelined.
Evan Jenkins having a good run here this evening. He's in the Plutronics entry. See him coming into the camera view right there, leading Marty Lindley.
Marty has the Janiking sponsorship, and right behind him is the white 27 of Derek Gilchrist, who was involved in that lap 8 incident with Ron Young and Sean Studer.
He was able to work his way back through traffic on the restart. Once again, there's Ken Alexander, as he's on the high side of the Art and Herman sponsored number 18, been driven by Scott Kilby.
And Goodson is in the tricky portion of the Speedway. Coming off of turn 4, it's the true straightaway on this D-shaped Speedway. And Bill, that can get a little bit dicey.
It sure can. You almost have to diamond the corners to get through them, especially turn 4. You drive down and it starts closing up on you because the radius starts decreasing.
Now, what does diamonding mean?
It means you're going to drive it into the corner, then make a corner, then make another corner right after you made your first turn.
Now, Ken Alexander, he's got his hands full right now, not just with the traffic around him, but his own race car. And Bill, driving a stock car on a short track is not for those with claustrophobia.
It's kind of like going to the edge of the cliff, looking over the precipice, and then taking a balance and feeling like you're going to lose it.
A lot of drivers have lost it over the years, and that means spins or getting out of the car a little bit angry. This is an intense business out there, even though some of these drivers are out there for the sheer joy of it, not so much making a profession of it. But when you put on a helmet, the personality for most of these guys changes.
Well, you're right on the ragged edge, that's for sure. It takes a very brave and bold soul to climb in a sportsman car, especially here in the Slim Jim All-Pro Series of NASCAR.
The black 61 we saw moments ago, and we'll see again, is Jimmy Cope, a veteran campaigner from Pinellas Park, Florida, who always runs well on the tracks around the Sunshine State.
Jimmy will make a commitment to running the All-Pro Series when it visits his native states. He primarily runs, like you say, in the Florida Pro Series, where he's been quite successful over the years.
Billy Bigley, if you're just joining our telecast, was the pole sitter with a new track record. He has led from the outset. The complexion of this race could change in just a little bit as we'll be coming to a halfway mandatory yellow. This is a battle for 5th on the speedway. The 61 is Jimmy Cope, the 04 is Bobby Gill, and Ken Alexander may play a factor in who gets the spot.
Well, Alexander's hanging right there in front of him, has been so for several laps. He's down at the bottom of the racetrack, and Gill is going to have to go to the high side. Cope will fall in behind him, and now Alexander pulls way down and opens up the racetrack.
This is a good battle, with Cope moving forward in that 61. Gill has been in the top 5 just about from the moment the green flag fell. Bobby Gill, almost a 2-time series champion, has come so close. Man behind the wall for the night, Josh Clemens. Let's talk to him and find out what happened.
Well, we got there earlier in practice. We were pretty fast. We blew a motor in practice, and we went to a backup car, come out and run about 10 laps, and blew a motor in that car too.
Terrible luck for Josh Clemens out of New Albany, Indiana. His experience has come on 2 of the toughest racetracks in the nation, Winchester, Indiana, and Salem, Indiana.
The good thing about racing at this time of year is that there's always another event just a couple of weeks off, and we know he'll be back. The 04 Bobby Gill and the 61 of Jimmy Cope have cleared traffic, so let's keep an eye on them to see what happens. But up front, it just continues to be the Billy Bigley Jr. benefit. Talking with him before the race, he was very confident. He basically rolled off the truck, and he said within 3 laps, Bill, he knew how this car was going to handle. They made almost no adjustments.
One of the most relaxed drivers here prior to the race.
Bigley will be taking us to a halfway mandatory caution. And right now, we'll be taking you to break. We'll be back with more from St. Augustine in a moment. This is NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro action from the Sunshine State, the St. Augustine Speedway, a half-mile ribbon of asphalt set just outside the city of St. Augustine, Florida. It was just paved a couple of years ago, so every driver in the field is still kind of sorting out the speedway with maybe one exception. And that's the man in the black 28. Our race leader, Billy Bigley Jr., sat on the pole and has led every lap so far.
He's on the inside of Mike Harmon, the Birmingham, Alabama statewide amusement Chevrolet Monte Carlo goes a lap down to the leader as Bigley is setting a rapid pace trying to get to the halfway point.
And Harmon finished 2nd at this race last year. That gives you an idea of just how well Bigley is running. Billy Bigley Jr. from Naples, Florida, never saw this speedway before they pulled in earlier today. How do you find out about a track that you know nothing about? Well, you talk to other competitors, and that's what Bigley did. He talked with Stephen Christian, who is back out on the speedway running on 7 cylinders, and he asked Steve in the middle of the week, what setup should I put under this car? They talked for a while, and basically Billy Bigley kept the same shocks and the same springs that he ran at South Boston.
Christian's input certainly dialed in Billy Bigley Jr. Speaking of Steve Christian, they're expecting a child. He and his wife, Julie, coming up first part of August. So there's going to be an addition to the Slim Jim All-Pro racing family.
And one of the reasons that Bigley went to talk to Christian was the Bell South driver sat on the pole here last year. Didn't end up with quite the finish that he wanted. But there's another story that is an offshoot of that. Last year when Bigley ran this series part-time, he would compete with Steve Christian, and there was a little bit of tension between them because Bigley would usually finish a little bit better, having more experience as a whole in the late model division. And the two got together this year and began chatting and realized that they had a lot more in common than difference, and they've become fast friends. And this is trouble. The man who had been running 2nd most of the race and maybe the most serious challenge to Billy Bigley, Ron Young, is in the pits with the hood off.
Ron's got some major problems. It looks like he may be out of the contest right now. He's out of Conyers, Georgia, having started his career up in Indiana. What's the problem there on the 4-car, and why are you out, Ron Young?
We had a good race car. It just goes to show you what an underfunded race team does. You know, we come in here and got good equipment. Our motor's probably 4 years old, and it's just what it takes when you run with a lot of money. You know, you got sponsors out there, Austin Crackers, Bell South. It just takes a lot on a team that's independent such as ourselves. And I tell you, Carl Wagner builds a good motor. We ran all last year with not one mechanical failure. You know, I like to say thanks to Coker Brothers. They helped us out a tremendous bit of getting us started, you know, and I just like to say hey to everybody back home. I'm sorry everything didn't work out, but you know, we'll come back and get this thing back together and come back to Greenville.
For a driver who's come close to winning the series championship, this is a frustrating year. He has yet to get a finish in the top 15, Bill.
Unlike many of the drivers, this isn't part-time. He is a full-time race driver. Thus, he needs some funding to keep his effort going forward. And, hey, for Ron Young, if there's somebody out there who might want to come out here and be a part of Ron Young's team.
He is the 6th driver to go to the sidelines tonight. That is a pretty high attrition rate, given none of those retirees are due to incidents on the Speedway.
Well, we haven't had anybody sidelined because of any crashes on the Speedway. We've had a couple of incidents, but nobody's had to be DNF because of that.
Now, with Young to the sidelines, the charge is now picked up by Hal Goodson as he tries to run down the leader. This is the battle for third. 0-4, Bobby Gill to 61. Jimmy Cope, we've been watching this battle for the last dozen or so laps, and it seems to have settled down.
Jimmy Cope doesn't quite have the presence that he had a little bit earlier, but we are drawing near the halfway mark, and there's going to be a mandatory caution. When that takes place, everybody gets a free ride into the pits.
Now, the reason they're throwing a mandatory yellow is that these are very tight pits at this racetrack, and they want to give everybody the opportunity to take the due diligence to make sure that for the second half of the race, they've changed whatever tires and done whatever fueling they wish in the safest possible conditions.
Just really wonder if anybody's going to have anything for Billy Bigley during the second half of this contest, because he has been dominant since the green flag.
Well, of the 6 cars that have gone to the sidelines, one of them was piloted by our visitor from the Virgin Islands, Brad Krieger. Let's see if we can find out what sent him to the garage.
We lost our radio, so we had no spotter. Came into the pits, NASCAR. Thought we should call it quits tonight.
Brad Krieger will return to the series. He's from down in the Virgin Islands driving for Jim Brinkley. We'll be back.
It's like a drug. Once you start doing it, it's kind of hard to give it up. There's a real addiction to racing. As now we're looking at a battle in the top 10. The 08 of Nevin Jenkins, the 86 of Marty Lindley, and that is the first time that we are seeing the series points leader, the white 8 of Freddie Query.
Freddie may have outdone himself this afternoon. He and Alex, the crew chief on the car, his son, brought the car down to the racetrack. They ran 10 laps of practice before qualifying. I asked him earlier, I said, what are you trying to do, psych everyone out? And he goes, well, no, not really. I want to save my tires that I qualify on.
And basically he was saying when the car's good, the car's good. There's no reason to do any more work on it. Now, he's got 2 of the first 3 races in the win column, and the other event was a second place. So you can see why he has a sizable series points lead, and he has really given Marty Lindley and that Jana King Chevy all he can handle.
Well, the points may be on his mind. He had led 300 laps up until the green flag here this evening, and he's running back in the pack here tonight. I'm really surprised at Freddie.
And that's 75% of the laps run. Freddie Query has led, the Mooresville, North Carolina driver who usually gets out of the box pretty quick. In one of our previous telecasts said part of the reason that is because I love to race down in Florida to get my sea legs, my racing legs under me early.
He's right behind Marty Lindley on the 86, who just picked up that Jana King sponsorship. For Query may be very, very conservative here in the early going. He's one of those type drivers that really wants to be around when they throw the checkered flag and write the big check.
Now, we've been watching Lindley the last couple of laps, Bill, and a little bit tail happy.
A little loose through the quarters there, and a little bit, I guarantee he's having to turn that steering wheel back to the right, and he's really looking at his rearview mirror, thinking, well, Query's trying to get down to the inside, and I'm running with a loose race car. I better bring the steering back to the left rather than the right.
And he's got to be doing some ear driving because Query is all over him. They haven't touched at all. A real tribute to both of the drivers, but you can see that Query has got the preferred line off the corner. Just can't quite get the bite.
Well, looking at these 2 drivers get around the racetrack, they're almost driving the perfect line, as are many of the competitors here this evening. And there's a driving school that is held here at St. Augustine with Mike and Crystal Lozier called a finish line. And many of the competitors, even though they're vastly experienced at racing at certain racetracks, still go to school to learn the finesse of each and every facility.
Well, the motto of that school is smooth is fast, and I think that is apt to say about the race leader, Billy Bigley Jr. He has been smooth. We haven't seen him twitch once. Boy, he has been fast. He has opened up a sizable margin over second place Hal Goodson, who isn't even in the camera frame. Bigley moving off the second corner. That car looks rock solid.
Very good run here for Billy Bigley Jr. VJ Usina, a very fine host for us here at St. Augustine Speedway.
There is the second place car, Hal Goodson, getting toward the 100 lap mark of this event when we'll have a mandatory yellow, so he may be just content to ride around and hold down the second position and not wear out his race car.
Well, everybody looking for that second set of tires to go on these cars to be competitive during that second 100 laps, which will actually be about 94 laps should we go green the rest of the way.
And Bigley slowing down, and with good reason. We've got trouble coming off of turn 2. Marty Lindley and the 31 of Ronnie Burkett, the top rookie contender, have gone around off the second corner, and we've got caution on the speedway.
Looks like they got together right in about the center of the corner, and both cars went around. Fortunately, both are able to continue. I just wonder if there's any damage on Marty Lindley's car on the rear end.
And we will watch them as they go by to see if there is. And it's one of those things where even though there may not be a cosmetic damage, these are pretty resilient cars. I don't even see much of a mark there at all, Bill. It doesn't look like there is a problem.
They're all fiberglass bodied cars, but once you catch one of the rear ends or whatever, you can dislocate it very easily.
This caution has come out on lap 98, which means when we return, we'll be at the halfway point and the top cars will be coming into the pits. Stay with us. The NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Series is under yellow here at St. Augustine Speedway for a two-car incident on the backstretch just moments ago that came just before the halfway point in the contest. So that means that the competitors will be coming to pit road for this mandatory yellow in just a moment. Pit road for the moment remains closed.
We see the halfway signal being shown to the competitors from flagman Rick Monroe out of Piqua, Ohio. And they're under caution. One of the things they told these drivers is that keep your eye on who's in front of you, because when we finish this round of caution, everybody's going to come back to their original track position.
So you will see the teams on pit road taking all the time necessary to get themselves ready for the second half. And one of those competitors is Trent Owens, who we talked to before the race.
Trent takes a lot of experience to drive these cars. You don't quite have that experience yet. What's it going to be like for you in your second All-Pro start?
Well, what I'm just going to try to do is just get in the race, get the green. Hopefully there won't be no early cautions, getting any wrecks. We're just going to try to just run the full race, get some laps, get some experience. Last week was my first race, and we gained a lot of track time, so we'll just take the Rich Petty driving experience Pontiac, Team ASC, and just get some laps, hopefully.
The nephew of Richard Petty, Trent Owens, and Trent is a driving instructor up at the Richard Petty Driving Experience. He's also been driving a desk. He's the track operations manager up there. Interesting note, asking about his most memorable moment in racing. He said, at this point, anytime I finish is memorable, but I'm sure when I get my first win, it will be the most.
Yeah, I think he'll be smiling from ear to ear, and I think everybody in the Petty clan will be as well. The current rookie points leader is Ronnie Burkett, with Scott Kilby coming off a great finish at South Boston, sitting in the second spot, and Evan Jenkins is in the third position. We expect the pits to open up, and yes, they have. That means the lead lap cars will be coming in. Now, just before the race, we talked with one of the legendary drivers in the state of Florida, Dick Anderson, who has now changed hats in the All-Pro Series.
One of Florida's all-time winningest drivers is Dick Anderson. But Dick Anderson's role in motorsports seems to be changing. It's in a metamorphosis. Dick, you used to drive these cars all the time. Now you seem to be a spectator. Why is that?
Well, it's not so much as being a spectator. I'm still in the middle of the action. I'm just not driving. I own the team, and I'm the one that calls all the shots and sets the chassis and all. And to be honest, I thoroughly enjoy that. I've been racing for 33 years, so the driving part of it's getting a little old to me, but I still enjoy the competition.
You've been through several organized series. You've also been more of an outlaw than anything else. You like to go run where the money is, and there's some prestige. Your son drove the car to victory several times in the All-Pro Series, and now you've got a new driver. Tell us what it's like bringing along these young fellows.
Well, it's a lot of fun for me. I get a lot of gratification out of it. It's not that I wouldn't like to be driving. It costs, you need a good sponsor here in this All-Pro, and David had one and I didn't, so he ended up getting the seat instead of me. So you'll probably see me back as soon as I land a good sponsor, but I'm thoroughly enjoying the part of being a crew chief and car owner. But just like getting my son, he's going to bigger and better things. I wish I could do the same for David Jude.
Your son's on to bigger and better things. The series he's running now has lots of national television and is rather prestigious. Once your son leaves the trucks, where is he headed?
Well, hopefully he goes right on up into Winston Cup. In his he's in a 3-year contract, and in his 3rd year, they have to put him in a few Winston Cup races. So we're hoping that launches his career, and he goes on into Winston Cup.
And he's a hero for many a short track racer all across America. The leaders are on pit road getting their service. We'll be back in just a moment to recap the stops and reset the field for the restart. Stay with us.
This NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro race is brought to you by Grease Lightning, household cleaner when speed counts. By Winn Dixie, the beef people. And High C Fruit Drinks, it's a blast.
This is the 4th race of the 1998 NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro season, the Winn Dixie High C 200 from St. Augustine Speedway in St. Augustine, Florida. Mark Allen and Bill Hennessy on board here for what so far has been a Billy Bigley show, but it is a very quiet and lonely place out on the racetrack right now.
Only Steve Christian, who is several laps down, is following the pace car. Everybody else into the pits, very leisurely 5-lap caution flag here that fell conveniently right at the halfway mark. So the halfway Gatorade Award will not be awarded until 5 laps of green flag racing have been completed. Everybody in there leisurely, they'll get their 4 tires, full pit stop, take on fuel, then they'll be coming back out. Now they were dictated to in the drivers' meeting that they will come back out in the running order that they went into the pit zone.
And you can see a very busy and crowded place on pit road. Maybe that's why Christian stayed out there. It was a whole lot less congested where he was.
Well, Conrad Burr is coming back out of the pits along with Marty Lindley, and there's a 61 car coming down the pit lane right now.
Now Jimmy Cope will pull to the end of the pits and back onto the speedway as Steve Christian comes in. He came into this event 2nd in the series points, but right from the get-go had an engine problem running on 7 cylinders. He's done pretty well, but he is a number of laps down and will certainly give up a couple of positions in the series standing from that runner-up spot he's in right now.
Oh, Christian needs a little break this year to have a little bit better luck than what he's normally been having. Bobby Gill goes by following Trent Owens, Robert Burrows down the pit lane, along with Ken Alexander, the Grease Lightning machine.
And Ronnie Burkett also went by just moments ago. As everybody, as we mentioned, just taking their time getting back out there. If you're just joining our telecast, Billy Bigley Jr., the driver you see there in the black 28, sat on the pole in a new track record speed and had the field covered not only in qualifying but for the first 100 circuits around the track, and he resumes his position at the point as we prepare to go back to racing.
While the pit stops are somewhat routine for all the competitors, our leader Billy Bigley was into the pits. His dad, who was the crew chief on the car, is actually a spotter. The pit boss is a guy called Juan Ortega. And Juan, what did you do while Billy Bigley was in the pits?
Yeah, we took on 4 tires. The car was excellent, about the same as when we started the race. So we went back with the same stagger, and we just filled it up with gas. He said it's pretty smooth. He's been pretty consistent all night, running in like 1750s most of the night, and not really pushing the car. So we're back to about where we were at the beginning of the race.
Now that we've heard from Billy Bigley's pits as being the leader in this race, let's check in with a 2nd place runner. That's Hal Goodson's pits. His crew chief is Steve Walker for this race. Steve, what did y'all do during the round of pit stops?
We got a 5-lap pit stop, so we just took our time and put 4 tires on it, gassed it up, just got to look it up.
Basically what both crews are saying, Bill, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Steve Walker was with Hal Goodson back in '95 when he won his first championship. But the question is, having changed tires, and these being bias ply tires as opposed to the radials, what about the consistency of the growth of these tires as they build some temperature back into them?
Well, I think everybody's pretty well figured out their stagger based on the first 100 laps and also what they practiced on earlier today. I really think that everybody's dialed in. Hoosiers brought a good tire to this racetrack, not showing any major wear at all.
And the drivers who figure out the black magic of tire stagger best are the ones who are running up front. Billy Bigley figured that out after just 3 laps of practice, and the rest, as they say, is history, because the first 100 laps are history. Now, sitting in 3rd place is Derek Gilchrist. Let's talk with his car owner, Robert Hamke.
Try to tighten it up a little bit, get a little bit better. We got a little better at the end. We'll just see what happens in these next 100 laps. We just hope to finish 100 laps, then we'll worry about it.
Mark Allen, there's a guy that's built the careers of a lot of race drivers in many different sportsman series across the nation. Robert Hamke, out of Concord, North Carolina. Right now, he's working with Derek Gilchrist, advancing that young driver's career.
And helped Derek win a pole at South Boston Speedway the last time out. The man sure knows how to set up a race car, which is not coincidental. He builds them for a living. You're watching NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro coverage here on Fox Sports Net. Back with the second half of tonight's race with the green flag right after this. We're back at St. Augustine Speedway. The leaderboard shows you where your favorite driver is among the top 10. We'll document where the others are as we get set for the green to drop in less than half a lap, where Billy Bigley Jr. has rested ever since the start of the race up front.
Looks like he's in a position to pick up the Gatorade Halfway Challenge Award here as the green flag once again flies from flagman Rick Monroe. A lot of lap traffic intermingled with the front serial of cars.
Now, even though there are lapped cars in the group, they did not line up to the inside because the cars went back on the speedway and resumed racing in the exact order that they came in. And because of a lapped car between 3rd place and the front 2, you can see how that tandem is already pulled off.
Goodson may very well have something for Billy Bigley now. He's running right there with him. The second half of the race should be hot and heavy with competition.
We wondered in the first half, in those final laps, if Goodson was just riding around, just conserving, knowing that he had to get to halfway for the tire change. Now we'll see if it's really going to happen.
Yellow is out right now, Mark. It looks like Conrad Burr has turned it around coming off the second quarter. We see him continuing, but Burr made a lazy loop out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway and is rejoining the field right now. So we are under yellow once again. Burr out of Concord, North Carolina.
He's driving the National Peening Chevrolet. Had a tough race the last time out at South Boston, still looking for a top 15 finish in 1998. David Moyer in car number 25 has a very famous car owner to the Slim Jim Series who we talked to before the race.
I'm wearing that the car owner hat. I think I don't want to be a crew chief. Those guys got too much on their shoulders. Just wearing the car owner hat, trying to help out as much as I can.
But I saw you with grease on your hands a little bit earlier and looked like a 5/16 and a half inch open end wrench.
Yeah, we did. We had to do a little bit of work here, and that's how I got to the point in my racing career, to where I'm at right now, is by hard work and dedication. And heck, there's nothing wrong with it. I like working on these things.
Right now he's working in the Busch Grand National Series, trying to win the Rookie of the Year honors as part of a 3-car team.
He sure is. Mike Cope, though, is looking forward to the success in Busch Grand National racing that he achieved in the Slim Jim All-Pro Series. He certainly has an outstanding sponsor, not only in this division, but also over in the Busch Grand National division. Austin Snack Foods here, and over in the Busch division, it is Slim Jim.
The all-time leader in poles and wins in the series. We're about set to go back to racing with Billy Bigley Jr. leading. Behind him now are the lead lap cars to the outside. Second is Hal Goodson. Third, Derek Gilchrist. Marty Lindley is the first car down on the inside. He is 1 lap down, and the green flag is back out. Now that Goodson and Bigley have no lap cars between them, let's see if Derek Gilchrist can make it a 3-car chase as Bigley pulls off to a big lead right from the get-go.
Well, Marty Lindley certainly didn't want to allow anybody to go by him. He wanted to stay on the lead lap.
And got a problem. Yeah, we've got trouble over in turn 4 as Nevin Jenkins goes around, and sliding by is series points leader Freddie Query. I wonder if he has any damage.
It looked like Freddie was able to skate by Hal on the outside. You can believe he was standing on the brakes because he almost came to a complete stop and then was able to go to the high side.
Let's take another look at this. And they were going 3 wide up in turn 4. I don't think that's going to work.
See, Freddie was barely able to avoid him. May have gotten nicked on the left rear quarter panel, but we stay under green flag racing.
And that's part of the problem. If you get caught back in traffic just a little bit and you're not running right at the front, these things can happen to you. Freddie knows that better than anybody. He was running away with the Hooters series a couple of years ago and then started to have a series of bad luck with other cars.
Well, we've run 5 laps of green flag racing now, so the Gatorade front runner money will be paid out. It'll be going to Billy Bigley Jr.
27 car of Derek Gilchrist. In the Robert Hamke chassis car, you see the damage to the right front corner of that car that happened on lap 8. It is only cosmetic damage. If it was suspension damage, he would never be running in the 3rd spot.
Don't count Bobby Gill out. Gill following Marty Lindley there, trying to get back up there among the top 3 competitors. He's riding in 4th place right now.
Gilchrist sliding underneath Jimmy Cope, who's had a strong run going throughout the competition. Jimmy Cope from Pinellas Park, Florida. This is good close quarter action for 3rd through 5th with Lindley, the lap car, the sandwich there.
Jimmy Cope now starting to get aggressive here at this run. Cope right there with Derek Gilchrist. Cope, a competitor that knows his way to victory lane. He always tries to run wherever they're paying the most money, and that's why he's here tonight in St. Augustine.
Now, Jimmy Cope, I should correct, that is Jimmy Cope between Derek Gilchrist, and they've just gotten around the 86 rather, of Marty Lindley. That is a battle for position. We've got caution on the speedway as Sean Studer has gone around over in turn 2. The old El Paso Chevy pulls away. Doesn't appear to be any the worse for wear.
He's having a handling problem on his vehicle, that's for sure. We're going to take this break. We'll be back with more here on the Fox Sports Net.
Back at the Winn Dixie High C200, we remain under caution, and that gives us a chance to talk with the driver who had some off-track responsibilities the last couple of days. Bill caught up with him.
Sean Studer, there's more to going racing than driving a race car. You had some activities away from the racetrack this weekend here in St. Augustine. Tell us about them.
Oh, it was great. They had us out at Winn Dixie showing cars and doing some display up front and handing out coupons, getting the fans all excited about coming out to the race this weekend. I'll tell you what, it was fun. You know, for whoever missed it, they missed out on a great thing. It was great this weekend.
What kind of reception are you getting from the guy that, or the lady that walks into the grocery store and you hand them a coupon or product and an opportunity to go to the racetrack?
Well, it varies. You know, some people, you catch them at a bad moment, they're like, you know, grumpy and they don't really want to talk. But, you know, we got a lot of good, you know, good personalities by us yesterday, and it was really good. You know, a lot of people stopped to talk to us and, you know, want to know about the race car and what's going on out here at the racetrack. It was really good.
What kind of product are y'all sampling?
We were sampling high C fruit drinks and Old El Paso Mexican style foods. That's what we were sampling.
I think he's got the sponsor lingo down pretty smooth already, Bill.
Well, High C just came on as a sponsor of the Old El Paso car driven by Sean Studer.
And Studer had a good run going outside front row starter. Was running in the top 5 for most of the early laps, but has now come to grief to bring out the most recent caution. However, we are set to go back to racing with Billy Bigley continuing to lead the way. Hal Goodson right behind him, followed by Derek Gilchrist. On the inside is the lap car of Ron Burkett. As we go back to green flag racing, and there is some smoke in the speedway. We'll keep an eye on that to see, and everybody gets by cleanly.
I believe that smoke came out from beneath the Robert Burrows car, trailing heavy smoke on the restart. Might have an oil leak or something.
Well, Bigley has done, again, just as he's done before.
He's got a fire.
Yes, Burrows has got smoke. In fact, flames coming out from underneath that number 53 Burrows Motorsports machine. And he is down to the bottom of the track, and it gets hot in there in a hurry. Let's see, he's already got the window nut down. Looks like he's going to bail out.
Well, he may try to drive that thing back around to the pits, but right now I'd be getting ready to come out of that car. Still trying to maintain control. It's getting quite hot in there. Believe you me, it transfers a lot of heat up through the floorboards, and he's got a real oil fire. Hopefully crew members are standing by with fire extinguishers to put this fire out. Burrows exiting the car now. Dry chemical being applied. All the NASCAR officials are down there. This was a dangerous situation, Mark.
And another one of the reasons that you never take your eyes off the racetrack when you're a crewman, because cars can come into the pits. It's just like children sometimes when you think you've got every possible way protected. They managed to find a way to get into trouble anyway. The good news is that Burroughs is out of his car and is fine, and all the crew people down there are okay as well, and we stay under green.
We stay under green. Right now, psychologically, for the drivers who are on the track, they're keying their two-way radios going, hey, what took place? What happened? What happened to Burroughs?
And the spotter just says everything's fine. Keep going.
Keep on digging. And that's what's happening right now. Burkett's still racing hard with Hal Goodson, and we've got a spin.
And that's Randy Gentry, who's gone around exiting the second turn, but he's dirt tracking it, in fact, sand tracking it here, back onto the speedway, and he'll continue on. Had a strong finish at South Boston, but it's finding his life a little bit more exciting so far tonight than he had planned.
Billy Bigley still up front in the 28 machine. He has dominated the event so far this evening. Really, he's got a car that is set up almost perfectly. It almost takes something mechanical to sideline him at this point.
Now, one of the track improvements that was made since the last time the series was here related to they built a little bit more track apron down there, so it didn't kick quite as much dust up, and we're back inside on the Grease Lightning Chevy of Ken Alexander. What a great view.
Whoa, another problem here. Steve Christian has lost it coming through the fourth quarter and has spun around. Fortunately, hasn't hit anything.
Christian trying to get his car righted to aim in the other direction and looking for a caution, and doesn't look like, yes, we do. The caution is on the speedway once again. Christian cannot get turned without getting in front of race traffic at speed, so race officials have said, let's toss another yellow on the speedway and get him righted.
That car turned directly to the right. I thought he was going to go into the outside retaining wall. Fortunately, he was able to whip the steering wheel around and kill the momentum of that car and not crash it.
Well, let's take another look at what happened to the number 2 points man.
Rear end started coming out from under it. He corrects back to the right. The car grabs a bite and hits for the outside retaining wall. Like I said, he is one lucky dude.
And may have had a little bit of help right there at a very delicate point.
Let's check in and find out what happened with Robert Burroughs when the fire took place beneath his car. Robert?
Well, I'm not sure. We just pitted. Everything seemed to be fine. The car was really hooked. We was coming to the front, as you could see. We was trying to get our lap back. 27 car had turned us around. I feel like it's oil fire on the car. I knew I had to get in. It was filling up with smoke, and I couldn't see and couldn't breathe, so luckily we got it in, didn't hurt anything.
And when we return, we'll go back to green flag action here in St. Augustine. Stay with us. You're watching NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro coverage from the St. Augustine Speedway. We're moving deep into the second half of tonight's race, where Billy Bigley has led from the get-go. And it has been every bit as easy as you might suspect from that description. He really has had the field covered so far, but as we get ready to go back to racing with Bigley on the outside there, while two lapped cars try to figure out who's in position on the inside, Bill Hennessy, I think the real question is, will Hal Goodson start to play his hand now, or will he try to hold it for a little bit later?
Everybody better start playing their hand right now. Bigley is the main foe, but take a look behind him. You got 5 or 6 cars still capable of winning at this juncture of the race. In-car camera once again.
Ken Alexander, the Grease Lightning Chevrolet. This is his view, and let's take a lap around the speedway with him.
In case you're wondering what that little blue cord is to the right, that's his hookup for his two-way radio to his helmet.
That's Hal Goodson, number 50 car. That's not the number he normally runs, but in honor of NASCAR's 50th anniversary, the Nortel Chevrolet is adorned in that blue and white color. The 04 is Bobby Gill. He is a top 5 running car. Marty Lindley in the Janet King Chevrolet is a lap down, as we identify some of your favorite drivers and where they are on the speedway.
Plenty of racing all the way around the racetrack. Bobby Gill, very competitive car. Oh, almost goes around. Marty Lindley got into him there. That was a fine piece of driving. Gill was able to shake that steering wheel left and right and did a phenomenal job. That car didn't go around. That's a brand new entry, by the way, for the former Florida driver who now resides in Dalton, Georgia.
The red and yellow number 26 is Keith White. He is also a lapped car and showed good sense a little bit ago when the Janet King car got a little bit loose and just keeping his head together. We've got a spin over there. That's Sean Studer again. He just went around a couple of moments ago. Second time he's done it. And Billy Bigley and the leaders go by the high side. That could have been a little bit dicey.
Could have been. Studer looks like he's got a major handling problem on his vehicle. And I'm surprised he didn't come down the pit lane, but I imagine he was expecting caution to come out and get a free ride into the pits. That's not going to happen.
It almost looked like for a moment that it might be a tire going down, but it looks like he's coming back up to speed okay.
Freddie Query now in the hunt. He's riding right behind Bobby Gill. They go to the high side of Keith White. And once again, in-car camera with Ken Alexander. Take a look at his hands on that steering wheel. Shuffles that thing back over to the right, correcting the car, running a little bit loose. Comes down the front straightaway now, diving into the corner.
Freddie Query, who started 16th, and we've got a spin up in turn 4, and Sean Studer again. And Freddie Query was right in the center of Calamity Central and got through okay.
That's 2 times that Freddie Query has dodged the bullets here over in the 4th quarter.
And we will take this break and be back with more action. Any lead changes or other drama we'll show you right after this. The St. Augustine Speedway is the host for stop number 4 on the NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Series. Dramatic developments in the last couple of laps as we get ready to go back to green racing. Hal Goodson is on the point, and our former leader, Billy Bigley Jr., who had to check up in front of a spun car, now resides in 3rd. And for the first time tonight, he'll have to pass a couple of cars, Bill Hennessy, who have been his equal.
They sure have been, and they've just been running behind him. But I believe that Hal Goodson had been waiting for this opportunity to get up front, and hopefully he can stay there. At least his crew has told me earlier, they said if Hal can get up front, he can normally stay in that position. And Derek Gilchrist, though, is going to run right behind him. There's Bigley. I mean, it's still a great race.
Now, Ronnie Burkett is a lapped car, a rookie contender, but he's holding up those 2 cars ever so slightly and allowing Goodson to pull off to a sizable margin.
Goodson now has almost a half a straightaway advantage over the 2nd place runner, Gilchrist. Gilchrist is tiptoeing lightly, but there's Bigley down at the bottom of the racetrack.
Now, the battle for 2nd will be decided by which lane Burkett takes. Derek Gilchrist to the high side in the white 27. Bigley in his Bilstein Shocks Chevrolet has taken over the 2nd position and now sets his sights on Burkett.
Burkett is really racing hard. Can you imagine if he were in the lead lap, how hard he would be to overtake? Considering he's a lap or so down, he is really putting on a show.
That has been a strong race car ever since his early problems. Now he goes downstairs getting the move over flag. He does just that. And Bigley will go by the high side, and Gilchrist can't get by this time, so that's going to give Bigley a little bit of breathing room for 2nd.
Gilchrist goes to the high side of the racetrack, gets up into the loose stuff, and loses a little momentum coming off the 4th quarter. Now he takes it hard down into turn 1. In-car camera once again. Here's Ken Alexander, the Breeze Lightning mount.
Now that Bigley is dispatched with the lap car, let's see how fast he can reel in, or if he can reel in Goodson in that Nortel Chevy. And he's definitely closing in. Bigley has been the class of the field up to the moment of that caution, and Bill, it looks like he continues to be the class of the field, but catching somebody and passing them are 2 different things.
2 different things, that's for sure, and a lot of folks have said that this track, the groove is very narrow, and with it being as narrow as it is difficult to really be able to go by.
And it's important where you pick up the throttle and where you lift from the throttle, because how you get into and off of the turns at a short track is absolutely critical, and Bigley has closed right up on the race leader. He had the point for most of this event. He wants it back, but lap cars will play a factor in where and if he can make his move.
They go to the high side of Trent Owens now. Now they're overtaking another competitor. They come onto the front straightaway. Bigley noses down to the inside. Goodson doesn't want to open up the door, but it is opening ever so slightly.
Coming down the backstretch, door to door, and Bigley's got a fender in front. He's got the whole car in front, and after 13 laps, he is back in the lead, and that was impressive.
Sure was. Had to work through some traffic there, and then he was able to overtake Derek Gilchrist. Then he overtook Hal Goodson, and now he's starting to move away once again. He's got a very strong car that was perfectly dialed in for tonight's run.
And now Hal Goodson, if this was not a point in the race that you were going to lay back, so that means Goodson just flat could not hold off Billy Bigley. Bill, something I've been watching, and I think our viewers have been watching for a good part of this race, there's red glow coming from the brake rotors.
The brake rotors on these cars are really being lit up because these drivers are standing on the brakes hard, getting into the corner.
And there's a nudge.
An altercation there.
Yeah, that's
Freddie Query.
And Jimmy Cope in the 61 right in front. Bobby Gill. This is for position contact, and Cope goes around on the backstretch. He's got damage to his car, and another car is sliding. Yes, that's Randy Gentry. But we are staying green, even though Cope's car is hurt, and Gentry's also continuing. And now at the other end of the speedway, Brian Sockwell has gone around.
Sockwell obviously ran into the back of somebody when they put on the brakes there. It's like he's crushed his radiator.
Let's take another look at that wreck, Bill, and that one was happening for about a half a lap before it actually occurred.
Well, right on Jimmy Cope's bumper was Bobby Gill. It looks like he made some contact off the second quarter. He stood on the binders and actually backed up, but Cope was well on his way right in front of Freddie Query.
We'll be back to reset the field and get to the conclusion of this race. Don't you dare go away. Drama at the Winn Dixie High C 200 has picked up a whole lot in the last couple of laps. We've had lead changes and we've had incidents involving cars in the top 5, Bill Hennessy.
A few scary moments for a lot of different drivers, and a little bit of thrill and elation for just a few moments for Hal Goodson when he led the race. Billy Bigley charged back to the front. The interesting guy that escaped harm was Freddie Query. I really thought he was going out of the game.
And we are back under green. This will give Hal Goodson and everyone behind another chance to try to reel Billy Bigley Jr. back in once again. The 09 car down to the inside is the lapped car of Randy Gentry, who just spun a moment ago but was not part of the caution. That came out for Brian Sockwell, whose evening is done after that collision with either a car or the wall just a few moments ago.
The battle is getting hot and heavy. It is for second place right now, right behind Randy Gentry. Coming into view should be the second and third place runner, and there is Derek Gilchrist making a bid on Hal Goodson, but has to back in the line, and there is Freddie Query right on his heels.
So white is the predominant color from third on back. Actually, second on back, as Gentry is a lapped car. Goodson is in the 50. Whoa, half sideways, Derek Gilchrist. That has to be the save of the night, and it opened the door for Freddie Query on the outside.
But he saves the position. He hung Freddie Query out to dry right there, and the driver down on the inside, Ron Burkett, closed the door on Query.
And you can't blame Query. It's getting down toward the final laps of the race. He saw an opening, tried to take it, but the fast way around this speedway all night has been on the bottom groove.
One thing Freddie Query's got to be worried about is that right front fender. It's crushed, but it doesn't look like it affected the handling on the car. He's able to hang in there. And right behind him is another competitor who would like to pick up a position. That's the 86 car, Marty Lindley,
who is a lap down, and right behind him is the Bobby Gill car, and that's the one that Query's probably the most worried about. While back up front, no worries, mate, to borrow an Australian expression for Billy Bigley Jr. He is back doing what he did for the first, two-thirds of this event before he lost the lead with the car pulling up in front of him over in turn number 4.
Talked to Billy Bigley's dad a little earlier, and Billy Bigley Sr. told me the most disappointed that he'd seen his son was in failing to make the race at Volusia County Speedway during Speed Weeks. He said when they drove away that night, Billy Bigley questioned why he couldn't qualify for that event. And now he's the man up front in the number 1 position.
When I talked to Billy about the very same situation down at Volusia County, he said it was a real reality check, and he rededicated himself to going out and not so much running for the points championship, but trying to win as many races as he could. Now, Gill gets under the lapped car of Marty Lindley. He will now set his sights on Freddie Query. The two of them were together just a few moments ago, but that incident separated them for the time being. We know they'll be back together before long.
Billy taking the perfect line around this racetrack, St. Augustine Speedway. Certainly want to thank VJ Usina for being such a kind host for us here at his racing facility. They're Many events scheduled here on a weekly basis. We invite you down and visit America's oldest city and St. Augustine Speedway.
Hal Goodson, who tasted 13 laps up front, his first lead laps of the season, is watching Freddie Query in his mirror, but more importantly, Derek Gilchrist in the 27. Out the windshield, Billy Bigley is pulling away every lap. It looks like he's picking up another car length.
Gilchrist won second place. He'd love to have first. He's going to try to chase down Hal Goodson as laps are winding down over this half-mile facility.
And Freddie Query, this is a most unusual situation for him. So far this season, his worst finish is second, and he has far and away led the most laps, but not a single circuit in front tonight.
Mark, 3 drivers have completed all 100% of laps so far up until tonight. That was Freddie Query, David Ruderman, along with Steve Christian. Christian, of course, will be out of the hunt as of this evening. He's several laps behind. We're going to take this break. We'll be back with the finish in just a few moments from here at St. Augustine Speedway in the Winn Dixie High C 200.
Welcome back to St. Augustine Speedway. Mark Allen and Bill Hennessy here. We're inside of 20 laps to go in the NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Stop. It has been a dramatic race over the past 50 laps or so. This time by 15 laps to go. That is the battle for fourth. Freddie Query in the 8. Bobby Gill in the 0-4.
Gill rolled it down to the inside, tried to pick up the throttle a little bit early, couldn't quite pass Freddie Query. Query now battling with one of his adversaries that won the Hooters Championship last year in the final race of the season.
These drivers are longtime competitors with one another. They know each other's styles very well. They're both hard chargers, so we're going to keep an eye on that battle. While back up front, it's almost as if you want to say that Billy Bigley Jr. is on cruise control, but you know these cars aren't equipped that way.
But if Billy had his air conditioner on, he'd be really cool right now because he is an air conditioning technician. A little further back, Hal Goodson, though, checks his rearview mirror, and right there, filling it up, is Derek Gilchrist. Now, Derek has a wounded race car, but it hasn't affected his performance so far.
Yeah, he's had an excellent run tonight in the Robert Hamke prepared machine. Coming into this race, sitting a little bit further down in the series points than he wants to be, sitting in the top 10 nonetheless in the 7th spot. That came as a result of a blown engine at the most recent stop. He gets down inside of Hal Goodson. This is the battle for the runner-up spot. From what we've seen before, it should belong to Gilchrist. Can he get the bite? Yes, he does, and he takes over the 2nd spot.
Gilchrist goes to 2nd place now. They're coming up on some traffic. Goodson dives back down to the bottom of the racetrack now.
And what will Steve Smith in the 20 car do? He'll stay right where he is, and that allows Gilchrist to maintain the spot. Whoa, a little twitch there by Smith. And Goodson had to be careful. He gave up a couple of car lengths.
Yeah, Smith was all steering wheel there for a second.
For sawing bees, there's a variety of expressions that cover a situation when a car gets that loose. And some of them are unprintable.
Derek rolls onto the front straightaway as we see Bigley go by, high to the outside of Trent Owens as Trent drops down to the bottom groove to allow Bigley by.
Bigley said that he wants to win 10 races this year in a combination between All-Pro and the Florida Pro Series. He already has 2 of those Florida victories in his 4 starts, and he sure looks like he's en route to victory here tonight. While we watch the battle for 4th, Query continues to hold the spot.
Gill right up on the heels of Freddie Query. Can Freddie hold him off? The laps are winding down. Freddie wants this good performance tonight. It'll certainly help him in his quest for a national championship here in the Slim Jim All-Pro Series.
Well, the drivers closest to him in series points have all suffered varying degrees of difficulty tonight, either through mechanical problems or just an ill-handling race car. But to contrast that, Billy Bigley, it has been a rocket ship tonight, except for 13 laps when he had to yield the lead or crash into a car that had pulled right in front of him. If Bobby Gill's got it, he's got to show it now or hope Query makes a mistake. Bill, it looks like that Gill has just about used up his race car.
Well, I think we're going to see Gill back more this season. That is a brand new race car from Drinkard Litho, a South Carolina company, and they have sponsored him and bought this car for Gill. Gill says he's committed to racing this car the rest of the season. And I really think that he's going to get better because this was a car fresh out of the box, brand new here today.
Let's keep an eye on our race leader as he has moved into traffic. The car directly in front is Ken Alexander, while the battle for fourth continues just as it has been for the past few circuits. Query has about a 2-car length advantage. Bobby Gill has come so close several times to winning the series championship, and on a part-time basis this year will not do it. However, Billy Bigley is running for the title, and after not getting any significant points at the season opener, he did get some appearance points for showing up and attempting to qualify. He has moved from 16th after 2 races to 7th after 3 races in the points, and if he wins tonight, it will certainly help his chase for the championship. He's already taken the white flag, and this time out of turn 4 for the final time, the checkered flag heralds victory for Billy Bigley Jr. The Naples, Florida driver picks up his first win of the season in the NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Series.
Mark, Billy Bigley, certainly the class of the field here this evening as Derek Gilchrist goes by and offers his congratulations to the driver of the black Chevrolet Monte Carlo, who in 1986 was the All-Pro Rookie of the Year. And in 1996, he was the Hooters Series champion. 22 years he's been out there taking those green flags, and tonight he's achieved a victory here at St. Augustine, Florida.
It's an all-volunteer crew, and I know that will be a particularly sweet victory lane when we go there in just a moment, as Hal Goodson salutes tonight's race champion as well. The Naples, Florida driver parlays his 3rd career Slim Jim All-Pro pole to his 3rd career victory. And it was, I would suspect, almost as easy as it looked, but in just a couple of moments, we'll hear from tonight's winner. By any measure, Bill, a very impressive performance.
Very impressive. He only lost the lead 1 time, and that's because he almost collided with a car that pulled up on the racetrack. Almost went to the sidelines. Very smart driving there, kept him out of harm's way and in contention.
And he had never seen this racetrack before he pulled in this morning, not unlike some of the other drivers, but he certainly solved it in a hurry. And one of the things that impressed me is, after last week's race, where he finished 2nd, he had the confidence to come to a track he had never seen before and basically not touch a mechanical device on the car.
Well, right after they ran their practice, they put this car up on jack stands. He had it dialed in.
Billy Bigley Jr. enjoying the fruits of his labors. Gets the salute of the crowd. He'll climb down and get a hug from his wife, Kim, and the high fives from his crew. It'll be a happy Bigley camp tonight. And in just a couple of moments, we'll be back to talk to the man who won the Winn Dixie High C 200. Stay with us as action continues on Fox Sports Net. Back at St. Augustine Speedway, the Victory Lane festivities have begun as everyone is here to salute Billy Bigley Jr. and our Bill Hennessy is trackside.
Congratulations, Billy. You had it dialed in this evening. You completely almost dominated this race.
Almost. There was a little bit of lap car skirmish, but that's all right. Derek and Hal, they raced us clean. They did a great job. They did what they had to do. I mean, my hat's off to my crew, Team ASE, Felpro, Bill Steen, five-star Jeff Hamner Racing Engines. What a great race car. Port City. My wife, my kids, my dad, I couldn't do it without them. It's just, it's a long time coming, and they say good guys don't finish first, but we proved them wrong tonight.
How did you get back to 2nd place there that one time?
I don't know. There was a lap car spun up there off of turn 4, and it was kind of, I came up on him so quick I didn't know which way to go, and he come up kind of out of the infield. And I went to go around him. When he did, the car shot across the racetrack and kind of held me up a little bit, and Hal and Derek both got by us.
How much did that worry you?
A lot. It was just one of those things where I knew we could set our own pace, and we were pretty good out there setting our own pace, but I didn't know how good we'd be behind somebody. Derek slipped up a little bit, and we got underneath him, and then Hal, we got up underneath him there with a lap car and stuff, and he raced us clean, and my hat's off to both them guys. They did a great job.
What was the tire situation like for you this evening?
The car was really good. I mean, the car got a little bit loose on the first set, so we worked on the stagger a little bit on the second set, and the second set it was almost flawless.
Are you happy?
Tickled to death. I can't believe it.
If you're a fan of the Slim Jim All-Pro Series, you know that is the first time this season that a race winner has won from the pole. The worst starting position anybody's had and gone to victory lane is 4th, so starting up front is important. We'll be back after this. In the final rundown, a number of good performances, of course, by those in the top 5. Give a call to David Rudiman in 6th. And as we look at the rest of the finish order, a pretty high attrition rate. Of the 31 starters, only 21 were running at the finish. Here's Bill with the runner-up.
Second place, you looked very, very good this evening, Derek Gilchrist. What happened to the right front fender, and why didn't you win?
Well, right there early, Young and somebody else got together, and the caution was already out, and I reckon Young had checked up a little bit before the caution come out because he knew they probably were going to throw the caution, and somebody got in the back of him and kind of turned him sideways, and I just kind of drove, and I shot to the left to dodge the guy that I was trying not to hit, and I just hit Ron Young right there in the right front and knocked the fender up. It didn't hurt the suspension or nothing, so we ended up having to start back there about 13th, so we had to come up through the field and had to kind of use our stuff up the first 100 laps and come in and made a few adjustments, and the cars seemed to be better. And the worst thing was just the lap cars. It was tough for me to get around them. My car worked the best on the bottom. It wouldn't really work nowhere else but the bottom. So when the lap car, they were giving us the room, but it was just that my car wouldn't work up high. And the only way I could get around them was on the bottom, and sometimes I just had to follow them to the front too.
So after 4 races, Freddie Query has expanded his points lead. Now Ronnie Burkett is up into 2nd. David Rudiman is 3rd. Billy Bigley has jumped all the way to 4th, and Stephen Christian is 5th. Let's hear from the man who finished 3rd place. That's Hal Goodson.
3rd place is not a win, but gee, you were running at the finish this evening.
Yeah, that's a change. We've been the last couple races. We had a crew chief change, and been some different stuff going on, and Nortel, they're 100% with us, and Bobby Fain. I mean, it's the first time I've really drove for a car on like this besides myself, and I couldn't ask for a better group of people to drive for. And like I said, we got crashed up there at South Boston last week about lap 10, so we didn't win the thing tonight, but we were there and we led it, and come out with a 3rd place and going to Greenville. We won at Greenville in 96, and hopefully we can go back there next week and try to get us a win here in 98.
And it's all smiles at Victory Circle, where Billy Bigley Jr. is accepting the congratulations and the trophy from Gary Regina and Bill Teskey with Winn Dixie. When we return, we'll talk to some more of the stars of tonight's race. Don't go away. So far this season in the Slim Jim All-Pro Series, drivers have had to qualify well to have any chance at victory. Tonight, Series points leader Freddie Query started 16th, but still got up to 4th. He's with Bill.
Freddie Query finished 4th. Freddie, you had to fight for everything you got tonight.
I sure did. Started back there, and I couldn't believe we ran as long as we did to start with there with no cautions. I mean, just like, I was like waiting and waiting and waiting because I thought the wrecks were going to come, and it was going to come, and it was going to come, and they didn't. And then second half, we took off, had a real good car all night long, and it seemed like every spin was right in front of me. And I'd slow way down and miss it, and the caution never come out. And 3 or 4 guys I just passed had passed me back, so it's real hard to be patient. But, got a little altercation there at the end with Jimmy Cope. Hate that happened. Thought I had the car that could win the race till that did happen, and it kind of messed up the right front a little bit. And, I guess we're just happy to get 4th place tonight. We've had a good year so far.
Would you like to have had a horn on the car tonight?
A horn wouldn't have done any good because them guys know you're there, and their spotters are telling them you're there, and they're holding you up, and they're blocking from the top of the track to the bottom of the track. I don't like people that race like that, and I just hate to see it, and then hate I got my fender knocked off because of it. But like I said, 4th place tonight, starting 16th, we're tickled to get it, and we'll go on to Greenville Pickens next week.
A 4th place finish for Freddie Query is his worst of the season. That's why he has such a big points lead. In the tail of the tape, the lead changed hands only a couple of times, but it was dramatic when it happened. Billy Bigley's margin of victory was a half a second. Bobby Gill had a strong run, and Bill's caught up with him.
Bobby Gill, you looked like you were strong this evening. What happened? Looks like a 5th place doesn't normally make you very happy.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to get that. This first time out, really get to run this car, and I don't know. Freddie got by us there, and then Jimmy Coate really gave us both a run for our money, and Freddie get underneath him mid-chop, and I get on the outside, and Jimmy take us, and Finally, I just had enough and put the bumper to him and went on. But, you know, I can't, you know, this new car coming out, you can't ask for a better day.
When you're racing a race like this and you finish 5th, but you're almost like you're racing for the lead lap after lap out there, how intense is the competition now?
It ain't that intense. I mean, I like racing with Freddie and those guys. You know, we put on a heck of a show there at the end, us three. And, you know, I got to thank Bob Drinker and Emerald Coast, you know, giving us this car. I mean, we ain't got our stuff together yet, but it'll come.
And when it does, look out. That's the story from St. Augustine Speedway. Our congratulations to Billy Bigley Jr., the winner of the Winn Dixie High C 200. For Bill Hennessy, this is Mark Allen. So long for now.